All right. So, hey guys, good afternoon, everybody. Today is Thursday, October 9th. It is 3:01 right now. Our scheduled session was for 3 o'clock. So I'll give it a few moments for people to make their way in. It looks like pretty much everyone here has access to the algo now. If you guys didn't message me, just message me now if you'd like. And I could update your access. If you guys didn't see my message, it was posted in the Discord. I'm sure there's people who got missed out because you probably didn't see this message. But if you guys didn't send me your username for TradingView, just send over your username and then I will update it right now. But it seems like for the most part, majority of people do have their access to the algo. So we'll go over the details, and then we can we can pretty much cover it, and you guys can kind of see where we're at with this. But all right, I'll just give it a few more moments for people to make their way in. We'll give it maybe like another 5 or 10 minutes or so. But yeah, guys, super excited to show you guys the algo. It's I love talking about the algo, honestly, guys. Like because the thing is, like every time I talk about the algo, I start to figure out more things that work with it, and there's like little things that you guys can kind of do to improve your profitability, right? The thing with trading is, you'll never be 100%, but using this algo here, it's going to give you the highest probability of, winning the trade. Like for example, this is I have the settings over here set up to the 6 o'clock trade that we've been taking all week. This thing has a 73.68% probability of hitting, right? It won 14 out of the past 19 trading days. So with that being the case, I would take that risk any day, really. Um, as long as everything kind of lines up where it should be. So again, guys, if there's some of you guys here who don't have access to the algo yet, I mean, feel free to message me. Majority, if not all of you guys should have access to it. I mean, there might be a few people who kind of slip. I got Rashida. Thanks, Rashida. That's exactly who I was wondering because I saw you in the Zoom and I don't remember you messaging me yet. So let me update yours real quick. Yeah, you were like literally the person I was saying. I just didn't want to call you out specifically, but all right. So you got access to the algo now. Again, if you guys are new or if you guys are not familiar with like where to find the algo, just go to your indicators here, go to your invite only scripts, and it's going to be called Kodi Kai Momentum Algorithm. Once you guys click on that, it's going to pull up on your chart here. So there we go. Will over here said if someone can keep the consistency with a 1 to 2 over 50% win rate is impressive. Yeah, it is. It's basically unicorn status, right? Because in order for you to be profitable doing a 1 to 2, you only need to be profitable at 33.3%. So anything above 33.3% is edge that you would have in your favor. Anything above like 65% is like that's like top status, right? Right now for October, so I've been applying the algo pretty much all of October, and you guys can see my stats here, right? The stats here, they're pretty incredible to be honest. Like I'm low-key shocked that it's doing this well because we've been on a pretty crazy win streak, like from the 29th up until today, basically. We've had pretty much wins with the algo. Green days almost every day. So green on the 29th, 30th, first, second, third, six, seven, eight. And then today we just took one trade. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to recoup the loss. Usually I take two trades. Like, for example, yesterday we took two trades, right? We had one loss, one win, and I still ended up in profit. For today, I only took one trade. So if we took a second trade and it won, then we probably would have ended today in the green, but it's okay. It's just one of those days where market was choppy and unfortunately we got chopped out. So looking back at that entry that we took today, you can see over here, the first entry flopped. That was the one that we were in, unfortunately. So the first entry right here just spiked to our stop loss really quick. We had a really tight stop loss and it pulled us out. But the second entry that followed it, which was right here, this thing ended up hitting right after, right? If you would have gotten in at 752 instead of 751, it would have hit, but probabilities were about the same. Our entry actually would have hit later on. So if you look over here, the entry actually would have hit later on if we didn't get stopped out right away. But sometimes that happens where you get some market manipulation on one candle, it spikes down, stops you out, and unfortunately it'll kick you out of the position, which is what happened with us today. So, we're using the probabilities to our advantage. And I think we're good. So for the most part, I think we've got everyone here. Patricia, I don't know if you sent me your username. I see you're here on the live stream. If you want to send me your username real quick, Patricia, I can give you access to the algo. I don't think I see your name on the list. So if you just want to send it to me either in the chat or, okay, there you go. Yeah, perfect. I just saw your Discord message. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to update it right now. There you go, Patricia, you got it. So go ahead and just go to your indicators, go to invite only scripts, and then turn on the Kodi Kai momentum algorithm. Looks like majority of you guys or whoever actually wanted to be here is here. So I'm gonna get started right now. If there's any questions that you guys have before we get started, feel free to hop into the chat. Elad's asking if I'm recording the Zoom. Yes, I am. So I am recording this, and I'll send you guys a link later. If you guys look at the Discord, I created a new channel over here. I don't think I've updated it, but yeah, I've created a channel over here called Algo. I think I'm gonna make this channel like public so that you guys can actually speak in it. Let's see, view channel. Send messages. Okay, perfect. So this is going to be an open channel, basically. If you guys have any, if you want to talk about the algo, if you have any questions about the algo, this will be open to you guys here. So if you look over here on the Discord, we have a new channel right here. It's called Algo under Premium. Yeah, we'll just keep this just for algo stuff. I'll post the all my list here and my trades on this channel as well. We're probably going to keep it to the premium now. We're not going to share with the public anymore because I'm giving you guys access to the actual algo, and I'll show you guys how I identify all this stuff here. So we will uh we will check this in a few. 1 second, guys. All right. We have one other person here that needs access. All right, I just want to make sure everyone has access before we get started so we don't have to take any more breaks. Daniel, yeah, so let me get you your access on the thing too. 1 second. I forget what your username is, Daniel. Let me just check the messages. D.Lee, okay. I got it. All right, Daniel, you have access to it now, so you can hop on the Zoom if you like. The YouTube is real time right now, so if you want to stay on YouTube, that's fine too. But if you want to get on the Zoom, it's there. All right, guys, looks like we're good. I think majority of you guys are ready to go. Again, if there's any other questions, guys, feel free to hop into the chat right now. Otherwise, I'll get started with the explanation of the algo here. Let's see, one more person here, I think just joined in. Hey, Brett, I see you just joined in. I think Wes too. So let's see. Yeah, Brett and Wes, I see you guys just joined in on the Zoom. I don't think I got your usernames for the algo. So if you want access to the algo right now to follow along, just send me your usernames and I'll update it in the system. You can send it on Discord. But all right, guys, let's just get started. The more and more I wait, the longer it's going to take for us to get started here. But okay, so basically, um, just a quick rundown of what the algo does. So what the algo here does is it tracks momentum 24 hours a day by the minute. So you can see over here, basically you can set a specific time that you want the algo to identify, like when trades are running, specifically momentum. And just using this as an example, this is a trade we've been taking pretty much every day this week at 6 o'clock. I put the profit target, which is 40, stop loss, which is 20. I'm trading on the 1 minute, of course. I'm going against momentum here. And basically what it does here is it gives me the data for this specific trade at this specific time, pretty much for the previous 19 trading days. So you can see over here that, the profitability is pretty high, right? Basically, you just want something that's above 50% because that's going to give you edge. Um, Anything above that is it's going to weigh the odds in your favor. Of course, you'll never be 100%, but this will give you a pretty good idea of like how and when your trade will hit or if, you should skip it or not. I'll go into some details. For the most part, I pretty much I make a list of trades and I'll show you guys my list. Let me see if I could drag this over. So every day I make a list of trades that I look to take for the day. And this is an example of my list. Or not an example, this is my actual list. So this is my list of trades. I'll show you guys how I made this list. But basically, I scan through all the possible entries that happen during a certain period of time. Like, for example, I do it by hour because the thing is the algo is running so much data that it takes forever for it to load. So I just pretty much cut it down by hour. So like from 5 to 6, I'll look for all the good entries. From 6 to 7, I'll look for all the good entries. 7 to 8, 8 to 9, etc. If you don't want to do all of this, because this is going to be tedious, you'll see that it is a bit tedious, but it is worth the effort. Because if you just want to set a certain time period, like for example, say you don't really care, like, how detailed it is. If you just want to look for possible entries between, like, we'll say 5 o'clock, we'll say 5 o'clock, which is going to be 0700. And this is based off central time. So depending on where you're located, I'll show you how to identify because I know not everyone here is from California. I'm basing it off California time because obviously that's my time zone. And the centralized time is based off central. So this is going to be 2 hour difference. If you wanted to check the difference or the trades between 5 and 9 o'clock, I would just put in the time over here, which is a 2 hour difference. So 0700 all the way to 1100 right here. And you can see my report is updating. And so what happened here after changing that is it is now giving me basically the top 10 trades within that period, right? So for example, here it gives you the specific times for entry. It'll give you the direction of entry and it'll give you the probability of the trade hitting. So like I said earlier, you basically want to have the set to, you want to take the highest probable trades because that's going to give you, an edge in the market. The thing with this indicator and this tool is that we're trading based off time, right? Traditionally, people like to trade based off price, right? So for example, if you trade price action or if you trade basically any strategy that has to do with technical analysis, like just say, for example, this is a support level, right? Some people will identify this as support and they'll say, okay, if price reaches this point, they're going to take a buy, right? The difference with this algo is that we're not trading based off price, we're trading based off time. So you don't actually have to do any analysis. Basically, you just identify the time here, you identify the possibility of the trade hitting, and then you decide if you want to take the trade or not. There's going to be other factors, and I'll go over the list. So here's a little list of like what I actually check for, and I'll put it down here real quick. Every like 30 minutes, guys, I'll check the messages, and if you guys need access to the algo, I'll update it for you guys. But right now, we're just gonna go through as much as we can, and then we'll continue on with updating that a little later. So this is basically my step-by-step process with identifying entries. And this is what I do when I'm looking for these lists of trades. So like what I mentioned before is, you can do a wide screen of like the entries. This is just looking for all the entries between those time periods that I showed you between 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock. But you'll see if you're looking at the bigger screen picture right here, you're gonna miss a lot of the other entries, right? Because there's a lot of other entries here. So again, just going back to like what this algo does, this algo basically scans the market 24 hours a day, depending on what time you set it to. Like for example, right here, I just care about what's happening between 5 and 11, right? Because that's when I trade. I don't care what's happening in the afternoon. I don't care what's happening overnight. If you guys care about what's happening in the afternoon, like if you want to trade Asia session or London session, you guys can do that. You guys have the tool now. So having this tool, it'll give you the probabilities of the trade, right? The thing is, you want to have probabilities in your favor. Obviously, if the probability is like 30%, I'm not going to take that trade because it's just not in your favor. This thing right here has 63%. So this tells me that 12 out of the 19 trades hit, and this will probably hit on the next trade. The cool thing with this tool as well is that you can see here on the bottom, it'll show you when it's in drawdown period, right? So like you can see over here for the month, basically from the 15th of September up until today, October 9th, you can see for the most part, it's pretty profitable. It only goes into drawdown a few times here. So it goes into drawdown between September 18th to 22nd, which is a 3-day period. And then right here again from October 2nd to October 6th. And if you were to do the math here, so say for example, you took this 6 o'clock trade every single day, right? Every single day religiously, and you don't look at any other filters. You don't care about price action. You don't care about news. You don't care about anything really. You just care about executing this trade same time every day. And let me just do the math for you here. Okay, so actually the math is already done. You can see right here, depending on your account size, if you guys just want to have an idea, like you guys want to have some sort of estimate of like what your profit would look like, what you would do here is you would just go to your contract size and you'd put whatever contract size you typically use, right? Like say if you're using 10 contracts, say if you're trading a $200,000 account, you put that in right here and the algo will give you like basically an estimate of like how much like how much profit you should expect if you apply this trade for the past 19 days. Like I said, past 19 days without like making any changes, you would make about 17,000, right? But obviously if your win rate was higher, you can make more. And we'll go into that deeper once we get into the actual analysis of how it works specifically. So, looking at this here, this is basically the profitability for this specific time. And if you wanted to try something else, like say, for example, you were curious about the entry here at 9:52, right? 9:52 Central is going to be 7:52 Pacific. So I'm going to put the settings over here. I'm using a 40/20 TP stop loss. The entry for that's going to be at 9:52 again, which is going to be 7:52 my time. And then we'll see what the stats look like for that specific trade. It's going to be with momentum. It's updating. It takes about like maybe 30 to 40 seconds to update. So right here, you can see this is even more profitable, right? This right here is a 68.42% probability of it hitting. This shows that it hits 13 out of the 19 trading days. So if you traded this exact same time every single day at 7:52 and you took a trade with momentum, this is how profitable it would be with regard to the numbers. The profit factor would be 4.3. The total P&L would be 20,000. So you guys can see like how the difference is if you just change the numbers just a little bit. And the thing is with this specific algo is that it gives you like the raw numbers. Like this is using again no price action, so we don't care about like where support resistances, supply and demand, none of that stuff. This also gives us the opportunity to take trades just based off the data, right? This is an example of like quant trading. A lot of people talk about quant trading. As you guys know, my hedge fund is going to be reopening to the public. That's why I created this specifically. A lot of people always joke around about how, because people will always ask, like, if you can teach them how to trade like a hedge fund. Most people don't trade like hedge funds because hedge funds don't use technical analysis or price action. They use quant data. They try to figure out like where the market's moving. That's what the algo does here. Basically, what the algo identified is that for the past 19 days, right, from September 15th up until the 9th, market was moving at 7:52, right? This shows you that 7:52 is not a random time. People always say that the market is random. The market is not random. If price is moving, let me go over here. So this is the entry. So this is 7:52, right? If the data here shows that the market moves every single day at 7:52 for the past 19 trading days, this gives you an edge, right? Because this doesn't tell you that this is random. This tells you that this is planned, right? At this point in time, someone is moving the market in a certain direction, and that direction is going to be with momentum. So that's why this tool is so powerful, because this tool will specifically give you like an idea of like where the big players are playing, right? The institutions, the market makers, the hedge funds. And what we're trying to do here is we're not trying to move the market. What we're doing is we're just piggyback riding them, right? If we see that at 752 every single day, there's an institution or there's some big player that's pushing price in the direction of momentum. All we're doing here is we're just piggyback riding that trade, right? And you can see over here, it's very, very, very accurate to the point where there's like literally no drawdown. And I'll show you later how you can double your R. Like for right now, this is a 2R trade. You guys have seen my list over here. Let me put the list back up. You can see my list here where sometimes this thing's going to show you where there's trades that follow along, right? Like at 507 right here, there's one that's for a 70-point target, 80-point target, and a 90-point target, right? And a 100-point target. So you could initially go for a 35.70, which is a 1 to 2 risk to reward. But if you want to keep going for the full 100, you can actually turn this from a 1 to 2 RR to like a 1 to 4 because instead of going or 1 to 3. So instead of going for 70, you could go for the 100 right here because you can see that the data here shows you that at 507 this thing has a 61.11% probability of it hitting. And then when it does hit, it usually shoots not just 70 points, but it shoots up to 100. So like what I just mentioned right here is typically you go for 40, but if the data shows you that it pushes higher, right, to like 70 or 80, you can actually hold on to it for longer. And with that being said, you can turn this from a 1 to 2 risk reward to a 1 to 4 or a 1 to 3 because you're basically doubling up. So, but we'll go into that more in detail later. I'm just trying to give you guys a general understanding of like how the algo works. Um, so like I said, this isn't random. Price moved over here at 752. Let's go to the previous day. And what I'm basically getting across here is that if price moves at a certain time every single day, right? Like I mean every single day, not like every couple days, but every single day. Like for example, again, this is the day prior. So this is on October 8th, same exact thing, right? Market moved right here at 752. See, this isn't random. And again, right here, so if you have the numbers here, instead of going for a 40-20, like we just talked about, and we've done this before, right? Where we move our stop loss and profit to 40, and instead of going for that 40-20, you can actually go for something higher, like a 4100, or even higher 4140, something like that, because you'll have the data here that will tell you that price moves at this in this direction and in this price point consistently over a long period of time. So like we said over here, this is where you have it set up. And then again over here, let's go to the previous day. So what I'm trying to show you guys is that it's not random, right? Let's go to the previous day again right here. Same thing. Same thing right here. There's volatility that moves and the day before that, right here again. So yeah, that's just the general explanation of like how this algo works. Again, like I said, you're never going to be 100%, but you'll have probability on your side. As long as the probability is high enough, typically I only go for probabilities that are above 65%. So let me just put my list back up over here. My list of things that I look for. So I choose a time period, basically an hour period. I choose a risk reward parameter, basically 40-20 or whatever. I always recommend use a 1 to 2. I'll identify all the entries that have a 60% probability or higher. And then from there, I weed them out and I look for anything that has above a 65%. And then from there, identify from historical data if the trade works on a specific day. Like for example, today's Thursday. I look to see how often does the trade hit on a Thursday, right? Whether it hits on a Thursday or whether it doesn't. If it hits every Thursday, then it's probably a good trade and I'll take it. If it loses every Thursday, then I'm probably going to skip it, right? Because, I'm not going to go against the data. If the data shows that it loses every Thursday, the odds of it losing again is very likely. And then the last thing, this is the only filter that I really use. It's identifying risk trading near open or news. As you guys know, we're in government shutdown right now, so there's not really much news. So the main area of manipulation would be around 6:30, which is market open. Um, Here, let's see. And then let me see what else. So that's pretty much the general idea of like how this works. Now let me go over here real quick and see if there's any questions before I continue on. So Will said, "How did you come up with this idea? It's a very interesting approach, but I like it." Basically, this idea was based off the momentum breakout. If you guys have traded with me for a while, we took the momentum breakout on open for like years, and it had a pretty good win ratio, and it yielded a pretty good profit long term. But what I thought was like, okay, what if we apply that momentum breakout, but at all times of the day, not just at 6:30, but all throughout the day? And then I was like, okay, that's going to be damn near impossible for me to do by hand. So I was like, okay, I'll create an algo that will run that strategy 24 hours a day. And that's what this algo does. I mean, if you want to run it 24 hours a day, you can put this at like 000 and then have this at 24. I mean, I wouldn't do that because obviously you're going to have way too many data points. It's just not going to make sense, right? So for me, I would just set it like this because I only trade market open or, the first couple hours of market open. So I only care about where the data lies between this period. But yeah, that's basically, how I came up with it. And I basically did a deep dive onto like how hedge funds trade because obviously I need to have some sort of high edge for my hedge fund. Um, and I need something that's consistent where I can yield a 1 to 2 risk reward or higher. So that's why I put this data together and put this algorithm together and put it into a tool that's executable and repeatable. Let's see, Camo said it shows when you need to trade with momentum or against momentum. That's fire. Yeah, exactly. So like for example here, and I'll show you as well. Like we talked about this on the live session, but so this is the cool thing too with having these data points, right? So you can see over here between 5 and 6, it's basically with momentum. So what you're doing here is you're just riding the trade with momentum. Over here at 6 o'clock, you can see it's against momentum, right? So what this indicates is that between 5 and 6 o'clock, price is moving one direction, and then around 6 to 6:01, price reverses. So this shows you that, okay, although I'm not doing technical analysis, I can already see that what's happening with the market is price goes one direction between 5 and 6, and then between 6 and 7, market tends to reverse a little bit. And then between 7 and 8, you can see over here that most of these inches are with momentum. So this shows you that again, it continues in that direction, whether it be with the direction of momentum or with the reversal. So everything kind of comes into play here. But again, like I mentioned before, I'm not using any price action. I'm not using any technical analysis. I'm just working off the data. If the data gives me a high probability of the trade hitting, then of course I'll take it, right? It's a no-brainer. Because if I do take that trade, I'm okay with the loss and I'm okay with the win. All I know is that this trade has this probability of it hitting. And obviously, if it works in my favor, great. If it doesn't, it's okay because I was trading with probabilities, not off emotion and not off discretion. So one question from Vimal, he's asking, can you increase the test time frame to more than 2 weeks? Yes, you can. So looking over here, you can set it to 30 days, 90 days, 1 year, the entire data point that's here. Um, so this is where, so initially what you want to do with this data here is you just want to get a general idea of like where momentum is moving, right? Once you have that general idea of where momentum is moving, then you can go over here and you can go back even further, right? So for example, over here, this is a 19-day trading period. If you want to check 30 days, you click 30. It's going to update the report and it'll tell me the profitability with 30 days. That's going to update right here. Again, it's going to take about like 20 to 40 seconds for it to update because what's happening with this algo is that it is running the data for 30 days. So basically, there's 1,440 candles. Basically that's how many minutes in a day, right? So right now what my algo is doing, and you can see it didn't take very long, but it did it pretty quickly. So think about running this much data, 1,440 candles times 30 days. So when I click update, what my algo does is it runs through all of the scenarios for 43,200 minutes, but it does that within like 20 seconds. So instead of you going candle by candle, and so this is what you would do if you were to check this by hand, you would have to pull up every single entry at 7:52, right? And that's damn near impossible. There's no way you would be able to do that. That would take you months. You'd have to have a whole team do this for you, right? The algo does it for you. And here now, okay, so now at this point, it pulls up data for the past 30 days now. And with it being over here, this is where the stats are now. So basically, 16 out of the previous 23 trading days, it won. It gives me a 69.57% win ratio. It gives me a total profit P&L, depending on like what your settings are. You can set your contract size to here. It shows that you would make 25,000 if you took every single entry. And you can see here that the drawdown period is very minimal. So, if I have these numbers here and I have this data, this is going to give me confidence in taking every single trade, right? If you wanted to. And it gives you the best time for entry, direction, win rate, and then sample size. So the screener here is meant to just give you a general idea. And then once you have a number there, you can always set it back even further, right? This is 30 days. If I want to go 90 days, like I'm curious to see how does this work for 3 months, right? The thing that you have to understand though is that so the reason why I have this set to 19 is because you want to see what the current edge is. You don't care what the edge was 30 like 3 months ago, right? Like who cares what was happening 3 months ago? You care what's happening right now because what happened 3 months ago doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow, right? You want to know what's happening within the current time period. That's why for this specific tool, and it's important because obviously you want to know what's happening right then and there. The thing with the market is that the edge shit like the edge is going to change like week by week, right? Week by week, month by month. And you'll probably understand that because if you've ever applied a strategy, you'll see that, your strategy might work for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then all of a sudden your strategy just stops working, right? That's why for us here, we don't care about what's happening a year ago, right? We care about what's happening the previous 2 weeks because whatever's happening right now between the previous 2 weeks or 19 trading days is that it's probably going to continue happening for the time being. And the thing is, the algo is always learning. So every week when you put in the data, it's not always going to show these numbers here, right? So for example, here it shows you 6 o'clock. 2 weeks from now, this might not be the case. 6 o'clock will probably not be our highest edge. Our highest edge might be 5 o'clock or 5:30 or 5:32 or 7:54 or whatever it may be, whatever numbers here. But you'll see like the more and more you use this algo, you'll see that these numbers change daily. So like last week, we weren't taking trades at 6 o'clock. Let me see where we were taking last week. Last week, let's see. Let me go to my official trades. So yeah, this week we took trades at 6 o'clock and 5:07. And let's go to like last week. What was the algo giving us last week? Last week was a pretty good week, right? These are my profits from last week. So last week we took trades at 8:54, right? This is not a random time. This is like what the data shows. We were taking trades at 7:53 and 8:54 because the algo adapts with price, or not price, but momentum in general. Let me go back a little further. Okay, so let's see what time. See, on this day, this was on September 29th. We took an algo trade for about 100 points right here for gold at 722, right? So you can see the numbers aren't always going to be the same. Every week they're going to shift. And this is why it's important that you run the algo every single day, because every single day it's going to give you the trades with the highest probability. So, but yes, short answer to your question, Vimal, you can change it to however long you want. But again, it doesn't matter what happened. So you can see over here, looking at the data, you can see the strategy was working it was like choppy over here. And then it went through a drawdown period, and then now it's working, right? So that's why the previous data doesn't matter because we're not in this type of market here. The market's different. So that's why, like for me personally, I would say stay away from going that far back because it's irrelevant, right? What happened last year is not going to happen today. That's why a lot of people suck at trading, to be honest. Like because everybody tries to do the same thing all year round. You can't do the same thing all year round. Your edge is gonna diminish, and you got to find a new edge. It doesn't mean you have to change a strategy, but you have to change your edge, right? You have to change the times that you trade. You have to change your risk to reward. You have to change your TP stop loss because those numbers are going to revolve with what's happening in the market right now, right? The volatility is higher right now, so obviously you should use a bigger TP stop loss. Back then, like, in the summer, market was slow, so use a tighter TP stop loss. You have to adapt with the market. That's why a lot of people aren't consistent with trading, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys have traded. You do well for a week and then you suck the next week. Why is that? It's because the market changes and you're not able to adapt with the market. So just keep that in mind, guys. The thing is the market's always changing and you have to be able to change with the market. You can't be stubborn and stick with one certain thing that's obviously not working for you. And you just gotta you can't be too I feel like that's the biggest thing with a lot of traders, right? You find one strategy, like for example, the orb strategy. I love the orb strategy. The orb strategy is great. It just wasn't working out for a good period of time, right? It worked well like previous months. Look, so if you look at my stats over here, I'm going to create an algo for the orb too. So you can see the orb was working pretty good like previous months. In July was where it was hitting pretty often. Um, June it was hitting pretty decently, and then August came and it slowed down. I didn't really have any orb entries because they would never fill my order. And then we hit September and I was like, man, the orb was horrible. That shit was like losing every single day. And I was like, man, this is like, yeah, I wish I had the algo because the algo would have told me to not trade the orb at a certain time or at a certain period or with a certain TP stop loss. So, obviously I took some losses here in September, but then I made it right back this month because now the algo is adapting with the market every day. So, yeah, let me just check if there's any more questions and then I'll go over the entire process of how I identify entries. So Justice is asking, so it's analyzing the entries at one and it's giving you the best times based on the probability of winning at that time. Yeah, exactly, Justice. So if it shows that it wins every day at 6, then I pull up the 6 o'clock, I look at the trade history here. Like for example, today. Today was Thursday, right? So if with it being Thursday, um, I'm looking at every Thursday trade. So I look back at October 2nd, the trade hit on a Thursday, right? So it won the trade on Thursday, right here. And then I looked the next day. What was the next date? September 25th. It lost on September 25th. The next day was the 18th. I went to the 18th. It won on the 18th, right? So basically, two out of the three Thursdays it hit. So this would tell me that, okay, maybe this Thursday could possibly hit. If it lost every Thursday, then I wouldn't mess with it because I'm like, okay, this isn't going to be a special Thursday where it works. Or if it wins every Thursday, I'll take it because the odds of it winning the next Thursday are likely. So, all right, I think I've covered majority of the questions right here. Let me check the Zoom real quick. Just want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything here. David said, where's the algo located under indicators? I'm not seeing it. Yeah, David. So to get the algo on your chart, go over here to indicators, go to invite only scripts, and then it's going to be right here called Kodi Kai Momentum Algorithm. You click on that, and then it'll put it on your chart right here. You might not see it because it's probably going to take a while for it to load, but it'll load eventually in about like 20 to 40 seconds. Okay, question from Chris. Chris is asking, going back to inputs for the cutoff and entry. Yeah, so this is where it's going to be a little confusing. So go to the settings here, guys. Um, we're Pacific time, right, Chris? So like this is the system time of trading. I don't know why it sets it to central, but it does. Um, so if you guys are confused, I know Patricia, you're on a different time too. You're on New York time. So for you, it's going to be a little different as well. I don't know what the difference is between Central and New York time, but for us here in California, it's a 2 hour difference. So for example, right here, I'm just going to use a whole number to be more clear. So right here, it's 800, right? Or 8 o'clock. This is 8 o'clock Central, but since we're in California, it's -2, so it's actually 6 o'clock. If you guys are curious to like see um what time it's actually at, this is a way to figure out what time it's at. So just put a time on your chart. I would say put like a whole number, like 800, and then go over here and just go back to the most recent trade. Or what you can do over here is just go down to you can either look at your list of trades or you can go back and just see where the most recent trade's at. So when you set a time in your settings over here, when you set a time right here where it says cutoff and entry, this is where your entry point is going to happen. If you put that time in there, you can go to your chart and it'll show you the actual entry. So see right here where it took a long position? It says 6 o'clock, right? So that's how I figured out the time difference. I mean, I had to play around with it, but for some reason, you just you can't change the whatever the central time is on TradingView. So you just have to base it off whatever it says there. It's not the same for all assets though. It's only central time for the main futures for YM, ES, and NQ. If you're trading gold, it's going to be different. It's 3 hours for us. It's a New York time actually, and we'll cover that a little later. But for today and for right now, I'm going to focus mainly on YM, guys. I'm not going to look at gold until maybe at the end of the session, because I trade YM and I'm going to show you guys my process. But yeah, anyways, if you want to check the time, so what you can do is just put in whatever time here, like put 800 or 0800, and then go to list of trades, and it'll tell you where the entry time is right here. Go to your list of trades, and right here it'll say entry, and it's 6 o'clock my time. So Patricia, if you want to see where it's at, just put 8 o'clock, and then look at your list of trades, see where is the entry every time, and that's how you'll know what the time differential is between TradingView and your specific time zone. Yeah, yeah. So Patricia said, yeah, it's because TME is in Chicago. Got it. Yeah, definitely. It's exactly why and where. Um, let's see. Question from Elad. Elad's asking, Sean, can you please show from the beginning to end how to run and use the algo for a specific use case? Yeah, sure. Are you paying? I just want to make sure you're paying attention right now, Elad, so we can go over. I'm gonna go over my whole process right now. So I'll give you the process. I just want to make sure you're paying attention so you're not gonna be lost once I start with my process here. Okay, perfect. Let me just go over these other questions before I start with that, Elad. Let me scroll up real quick. Let's see. Ryan is asking, just found out that in order to change the date range on TradingView, you have to have either premium or ultimate. Um, you can still see, or what is it set to on yours, Ryan? Yeah, because I'm on premium, so I didn't realize that was a thing. I'm not sure if like I'm assuming it should have a certain amount of dates, right? I don't, does anybody else have that issue with the date range? Because really, you just want to have the date range up to 19 trades or 2 or 3 months, basically. That's all the data that you really want. Let's see, 28. Do you know how far you can go? Uh, oh, Ryan just upgraded. Never mind. So Ryan wouldn't know. Okay, so yeah, Alon, do you know how far you can go with your dates? I'm just curious to see because if you can have the dates set to to the 14th at least, then you should be fine. Like if you can cover the sample data right here, because and this is going to be important. This is why you want to have at least 19 dates because you'll see that the numbers here are different. So for example, and I'm just showing you guys right now, see how this one over here shows at 6 o'clock or 800 hours. It is a 73.7% win ratio. Actually, this is a bad example because the number is actually correct. Sometimes you'll put in the number and the number is not going to be correct on the actual test. But yeah, I mean, if any of you guys have any problems, just try to see if you can get 19 samples because that's usually like where it's at. It's going to be between 16 and 20 samples. Yes, Patricia said NQ is also Central Time. Yeah, so NQ, ES, YM is all Central, and then Gold GC is going to be on Eastern Time. Yes, so what's it set to for yours? A lot. Like what dates does it show right now? I'm just trying to figure out like what your sample is covering. Because if it's close to the 19, I mean, you're fine. If it covers at least 2 weeks, I think you should be fine. If it does 14 trades, you should be okay because you only care about what the edge is for like the current market anyways. Let's see. Sam said momentum V2 indicator is how you determine the momentum. Yes, that is correct, Sam. So you only need two indicators. You need the momentum and then you need the algorithm. The algorithm is going to give you the probabilities and the momentum is going to give you the direction. Yeah, okay. So Camilo said that for trade free trading for the free trading view, you can't go past October 1st. Last 10 days. Okay, that might be a little bit of an issue for you guys. I mean, you can still use the algo, but you're just not going to have super accurate data because you kind of want to go back a little further. So I would say just use the algo with what you have. And then if you want to upgrade to, a premium trading view to go deeper, then you can, but you don't need to do it right now. Like right now at this very moment, you don't need to upgrade it unless you for sure going to use it. So, all right, let's just go over the process right now. So, again, let me clean this up. Here is my step-by-step process. of how I identify this list of trades right here. And I'm gonna save this so it's gonna be here always. So this is the Kodi Kai momentum algo checklist. Yeah. I didn't realize that they well here's the thing with TradingView. I feel like they're always trying to they're always trying to charge for something now. Before TradingView had like a couple options and now they have like I feel like they're like literally trying to I mean to make some kind of money off people who are using TradingView, of course. Which sucks, but I mean, it's part of their business model, of course. For a long time, TradingView used to be completely free. And then they added the premium and whatever it may be. What I would say is I think they do have a promo for TradingView right now. So if you want to use that, it's worth it because you're going to use TradingView. You can't get away from this platform. This platform is you're kind of stuck with it, especially if you want to run the algo. So anyways, guys, let's start off with step one. So step one, you want to choose a time period to look for entries, right? So looking at this right here, you want to look for a time period to look for entries. If you look at my list over here, and I'm going to delete this and just start over. I used to have different time periods here where I would look for entries. I mean, you can kind of see from my list over here. I went between like 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. The thing is, I didn't just realize, but I know myself that I'll never wake up at 4 o'clock. So I'm not even going to look at the 4 o'clock entries. Like, there's no way I'm going to wake up this early to take a trade at 4 o'clock. It doesn't matter how high the probability is. I'm probably never going to wake up at 4. So I'm going to start at 5 to 6. So this is going to be 700 to 800. And this is going to be my step-by-step process. So step one, choose a time period to look for entries. I'm going to go down over here. And right here where it says entry start time and end entry time, this is where you want to get the data. So again, I'm going to put 0700 to 0800. This is going to be between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. The reason why I'm doing only 1 hour is because I want to see what are the best trades between 5 and 6. So once I have that right there, the next step is to choose a risk reward parameters for screener. Sorry, for screener. So this is going to be step two, and let me just update this real quick. And I'll go over these steps again. So let's just start over again. Step one, choose a time period to look for entries. My time period for this specific scanner is I'm going to be looking for trades between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock because that's all I care about. I care about what's happening within that hour. The next one is you want to choose a risk reward parameter for your screener. For me, I go up in increments of 10. So right now I'm going to do 40-20. And then you'll see I'll repeat this process. So like basically you'll start off with 40-20, and then I'll go up to 50-25, and then I'll go up to 60-30. And this process is very, very tedious, which is going to be kind of annoying, but you'll see that it's all going to make sense in the end of it. So I'm going to do a whole line of trades between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and you'll see I'll start to add more trades here, and then everything is going to make sense towards the end. So again, first choose your time period. 5 to 6 is for me. Choose your risk reward is 40-20. And then after I'm done with the 40-20, I'll move up to the 50-25 and then 60-30 and then whatever, however far I want to go. Once you choose that, once you have that set up, your risk reward, and then you have the time set up, I'm going to click update report. And then you'll see this right here. This screener is going to update. So right now it's at like 6 o'clock, and you'll see these numbers here are going to update pretty shortly. Okay, so now it's updated. And this will give you all the trades that have the highest probability between 5 and 6 o'clock with a 40-20 TP stop loss, right? So with the 40-20 TP stop loss, again, like I said, I'm only looking for the high probability trades. Right here on step 3, it says identify all entries with 60% probability or higher. So the first one, of course, is going to be at 6 o'clock. And it's going to be against momentum. So obviously I have the data here already. I'm going to go and put the data on my list now. So looking at my list over here, this is what's going to take the longest, but once you guys do this a couple times, it's going to be easier. It takes me like maybe an hour to do the whole thing. So right here, this is at 6 o'clock. Just copy one of these right here. So I'll put this at 6 o'clock. I'll put the Eastern time here so I know what it's going to look like on the chart. This is going to be against momentum. And the probability of this trade hitting is 73.68. The risk to reward here is going to be 2040. And that's pretty much it. So like right there, I have that time listed. Looking at this over here, so I'll check the next one. Sometimes, so this is important. Even though it says something below 60, you still want to put the numbers in to see because sometimes the numbers are going to be a little bit different. Sometimes these are going to be a little bit off, and this is going to be the most accurate number, the actual tester down here. So again, we're doing a 40-20. The time for that entry is going to be at 7:04, which is going to be 5:04. 5:04 my time. I click update report, and then it's going to update here. So basically, you're going to be going down the list, and you're going to be identifying, which trades have it. And right here, you can see it's 52.63. This is not a good win ratio. So the probability stuck on that trade, I'm not going to take it. Then I'll go down to the next one, 7:07, hit update. This here is going to update again. You can see it says updating report. Now this one really sucks, right? Sometimes you're going to get this and you're going to be like, what the hell? The number is way off. It was 57.9. This one is really, really bad. So obviously you want to double check it because you don't want to just go based off this number. This number is going to give you a screen number, but you want to get the actual number here. So let's go to the next one, 708. At this point, if you go down to like 3 or 4 trades and you're like, okay, all these numbers are really low, then you can just skip to the next time, the next risk reward. So again, right here, it's updating. Yeah, see, these numbers are horrible. Oh, sorry. Never mind. My bad, guys. This is my bad. I forgot to change this. So this trade over here at 7:04 was with momentum, not against. Let me just go back to 7:07. So you just got to make sure you look at everything here. It's easy to make a mistake like that. It made sense because I was like, this number is way off. Like, there's no way it's 57%, and then it gave me 11. So this number is actually correct. It's 52%. Now let's check 708. If this number sucks too, then I'm just going to skip to the next risk reward. Okay, so this is different again, right? So right here at 707, see how it shows you that it's 57.9, but it's actually 66.67. So this is actually good, right? This is at 708 actually, sorry, 708. So at 708, it says it's 55.6, but the real number here is actually 66.67. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add that to my list. I'm going to delete these so we don't get caught up with these old numbers. So yeah, looking at this right here, this is at 508. 708. This is going to be with momentum, not against. So I changed that right there. And the probability on this trade is going to be 66.67 for a 2040 TP risk reward. So see how I'm making a list right here? Uh, as we get more and more trades here with high probability, you're going to be able to identify where price is moving. So right now, okay, 508, we have that. Let's go down to 501. And you'll see how it's going to give you a storyline basically of how price has moved over the past, 19, 20 trading days. And you're going to understand where price is moving with momentum and when it's making reversals. So right here, this number sucks, right? I'm not going to put this on there. It's not worth it. So again, let's go to the next one. 701. Now we'll go to 706. You see the numbers here, they're not always going to line up. Like it shows 50, but either way, we weren't going to write these numbers down anyways because it's still below 65. But you can see here when you pull up the actual number, like the actual test data is not going to line up. The problem with this here is that sometimes the candles haven't loaded. So you're not going to see like the numbers here aren't going to be accurate because this is pulling the actual data from running the test. But when the scanner here is only running whatever candles you have on the chart. So if I scroll back, see how it only has these many candles? See how it's empty right here? It doesn't count for every single entry. It does for most of them, but like if you go back right here, if you're trading view, this is more so if you're not on premium. For me, I'm on premium, so I have like, I have the I don't have the best data, but I have like pretty good data. But if you go back, see how the data is not loaded? Sometimes these trades are not going to be accounted for. That's why the numbers here are slightly different. So it is important that you guys actually put the numbers in here to get the actual test data, not just what's showing up on the screener. But okay, so at this point, guys, I'm pretty much done with using the 40/20 TP stop loss because I have a certain amount of trades here, and I don't think any of these are going to be any higher. If you want to go down every single number, you guys can, right? There's no problem with that. But for me, I've been doing this for a while, and I realize that if I keep going down the list, I'm just wasting time. So that's it for the 2040. Um, so before you skip down to step four, you're gonna stay within step 1 to 3 for a while until you cover all of your risk reward parameters that you want to look for. So now that I'm done with the 2040 here, my next parameter is going to be 50/20. That's why I have a list right here of my TP stop loss check. I do 40/20, 50/25, 60/30, 70/35, 80/40, 90/45, 150, right? I basically go in increments of 10, and this is what I mentioned earlier. It's going to be a little tedious because it's a lot of work that you have to do by hand. But by doing this work, you're going to have a good list of trades that are going to show you where price is going to go. So again, right here, now I'm going to change this. I go back to step one. I'm still looking at the same time period. Step two, choose your risk reward. I'm going from 40/20 to now 50/25. Now when I click update report, you're going to see the times here are going to change. See now they've updated, and these are the times if you're using a 50-point TP and a 25-point stop loss. So now I do the same thing I just did with the 40/20, but now I'm doing this with the 50/25. So again, right here, 704. This is with momentum. I update the report. And like I said, this is going to be tedious, but trust me, it's going to be worth it in the end, right? By doing all this work the night before, I'm able to have these kinds of profits because I know exactly what's going to be high probability and what's not. So although it is tedious and it might be a little annoying, your account's going to really like it because you're going to be going for the best possible entries. So again, right here, a 704, this doesn't meet my criteria. It needs to be above 60%. In the future, I can probably well, I'm going to work to have this pretty much automated where it's going to be more accurate. The only problem here is that TradingView is not a very good, well, I mean, it's a good platform, but to run these types of algos and tests, it's not powerful enough, right? It already takes a long time for me to pull up this data. Imagine if I was to add another tool to this thing would take like a minute or 2 minutes to perform. And the problem is your cutoff is if the algorithm doesn't produce the data within 40 seconds, you're just going to get an error on TradingView. That's why I can't add too many things on here. Even though I did clean up the code, it's still slow because it's a deep backtest tool. All right, so 707. Again, if I don't see anything here that shows up, like that's good. So this is getting a little closer. This is 57.89. This actually lines up with the number there. Now the next trade is at 717 or 517. And right here, I'm going to put this against momentum. Okay, so the numbers here still suck. If that's the case, I'm going to do one more here. And if I don't get any good numbers, then I'm going to switch to a different risk reward. So 708. Okay, so this number is good, right? 66.7%. So again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the same time. This is at 508, so same time as the other trade. It's with momentum, 66.67. So this is where it's going to be a little easier because when you put different risk reward, it's going to pretty much line up with the previous trade. So right here, I'm just going to change my risk reward from 2040 to 2550. And then I'm going to add that to my list of trades right here. I like to put them in order where I have the tighter risk reward above and then the wider ones go below it. So that's it with that right there. And now let's move on to a different risk reward. So now the next one's gonna be 60/30, and I just do the same process again. Update report. Report is updating right here. Same thing. So now let's go to 707. And then I'm going to update this. I'm going to look at what the profitability is or the probability is. If it's above 60%, I'll write it down. If it's not, then I'm going to skip it. Okay, 63%. This is good. So right here, this is at 507. This is with momentum. The probability is 63.16. The risk to reward is 30.60. And this is all going to make sense in a bit, guys. Just let me go through this real quick. I'm going to try to zoom through it now. If you guys have any questions, hop into the chat. I'm just going to do this really fast so I don't have to take too much time on here. I'm gonna do what I typically do every evening. Your report is updating again. Okay, 47%. That sucks. Not taking that. Next step, I'm gonna try to zoom through this. You'll see how fast you'll be able to do this. As you get better at creating some sort of system that you can follow to identify things more efficiently. This is 52%. Not gonna mark that down. It sucks. 729. Update report. 42%. That one sucks. Not gonna take that one. It just has to meet my criteria. It has to be above 60% for me to write it down. 47%, that sucks. Not gonna write that down. All right, I'm gonna do one more. If this doesn't give me good numbers, then I'm gonna move on to the next risk to reward. This is gonna be against momentum. Update the report. All right, they're not gonna be good. So now I'm gonna move up to the next risk to reward, 70, 40, 35. Update the report. These numbers here are gonna change. And they've updated. So looking at this here again, so now I'm gonna do with momentum, 707. Update report. I'm going to look at the profitability here. If it's above 60, I'll mark it up. If it doesn't, then we move on to the next one. All right, it's close, but not close enough. It's at 57. That's not going to be one that I'm going to use. 706. Update. All right. 29. Again, like the more and more you do this, guys, it's going to be a lot easier because you're going to know exactly what to do. You don't have to double check it. You're just like, okay, put the number in, update it, see if the number here is above 60. If it is, great. If it isn't, move on to the next one. 42, no good. All right, these numbers aren't good. Let's go to the next risk reward. 80, 40. Update. These numbers here are going to update. And they're updated. So 706. You can see the numbers here aren't above 60. So the odds of this working or that it meets my criteria are unlikely. Nope, doesn't meet it. 7. I'll do 2 more. These are all below 60, so it's probably not going to meet the criteria. That's close. 57, but not close enough. 32. If this one doesn't meet 60, then I'm just going to move on to the next one. Okay, nothing there. Let's go to 90, 45. And you guys will have this number listed for yourself, right? You'll have an idea. If you want my numbers, I'll give them to you. I just go in increments of 10. But if you want to set up your own and figure out what's the best, like for example, I don't trade NQ, so I don't know what the best TP stop loss is. If you trade it normally, then you probably would have a better idea of like what to set it to. All right, so 732, this is a below 60, so it's not going to count. Let's go to 33. Update. Okay, this one's great, right? 68%. This is actually really good. So this is going to be 730 or 533. This is with momentum. The win ratio on this is 68.42. TP stop loss is at 90.40, 90.45. Copy that, put that down right there. All right, next one. Let's go over here real quick. Uh, so 706. You're probably not going to find a lot of entries like pre-market. Like, if you go when market's open right here, 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, you're going to find more entries down here. Um, this is just because market doesn't really move pre-market, especially right now because of the government shutdown. You're not really seeing very much movement pre-market because there's no news events. So this is why right now you're not really seeing a big list of entries here. For the previous week, we did have more, like before the market went into, before the government shutdown happened, but now it's just the type of market that we're currently in right now. So I went down to 707. You can see the numbers here are below 60. I'm not going to bother going any lower. I'm going to go to 150 now. These numbers are going to update again. Okay, so these are a little better. So let's look over here real quick. 732. Update report. This is not where I need it to be. It needs to be above 60. Let's go down to 33. All right, this one's good. So this one is at 533. It's with momentum. The win ratio on this is 63.16. Risk to reward is 50, 100. All right, let's do a couple more. Uh, if this one over here doesn't give a good number, then I'm just gonna move on to step 4. So I'm updating right here. All right, 47. That's about it. So with this being the case right here, I have the numbers here lined up. Now we're going to move up to step 4. So step 4 over here, we'll go back. So step 1, we identified entries between 5 and 6. Step 2, we chose our risk to reward from 40/20 to 150. And then step 3, we want to identify all the entries with above a 60% probability. That's all these entries right here. Step 4, now you want to identify the ones that have above 65. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bold these out because these are going to give me the highest probability out of all the setups that came up right here. So now that we have this marked up, we have an idea, okay, like these are going to be good entries at 508, 533, and 6 o'clock. What this indicates here is that at 5, basically from 5 o'clock until 6 o'clock, market tends to move in a direction, just one direction, right? And then at 6 o'clock, it reverses. So let's just go back to the data from this morning. So from this morning over here, you can see between 5 and 6, and I'll just put a line right here. So look, it didn't move a lot, but you can see here that there is some sort of direction, right? So from 5 to 6, price kind of went sideways, but it went downward sideways. And then at 6 o'clock, it reversed to the other way. Let's go to 5 o'clock the previous day. We just need to go to a day where there's actual volatility in the morning to kind of give you guys a better idea of like what I'm talking about here. Okay, so here's the same thing right here. So let's go between 5 o'clock. So between 5 and 6. See between this period right here, price is like slightly, it comes down a little bit, but then it trends to the upside. And then at 6 o'clock, it goes sideways and then it drops down. Again, not a great example because there's no volatility. Like these whole past 2 weeks, this is why I'm not really looking for trades pre-market during the government shutdown because there's no volatility. There's typically news at 5:30, so there's usually volatility, but right now there just isn't. Okay, so again, right here, another example. So this is actually a little better. It's not that much better, but you can see between 5 and 6 o'clock, price slightly goes up. and then at 6 o'clock it reverses down, right? What does this indicate from the data? The data here shows you that for the past 2 weeks, basically from 507 to 533, price goes with momentum, and then at 6 o'clock it reverses. So this is where you can have an idea of like, okay, during 5 to 6, I'm going to take trades in one direction to the upside, and then when 6 o'clock hits, I'm going to take the reversal, right, back to the downside there. So let's go back over here to my step-by-step things. So again, right here, look for periods. For your entries, that's step one. We look between 5 and 6. Step two, set up your risk reward. Step three, identify all entries with 60% probability. I've marked them up right here. Step four, identify entries with probabilities above 65%. Those are the ones that I bolded out. So now that I have these here lined up, I'm going to be focusing mainly on these. These are just confluences or additional support, but I'm going to be looking to take entries at these specific time periods. Right. So now that we have this here lined up, now let's put this data into our algorithm again. We're going to go to 508. So 708 with a 40-20 TP stop loss, right? I think that's where it's set to. Yeah, so 40-20 risk reward right there. Now the report is updating. Now that I have this set up right here, I'm going to pull up the trade history. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for this trade to come up every Friday. So let me just pull up my calendar over here on my other screen. I'm going to put the dates over here. So the dates for every previous Friday is going to be October 3rd, September 26, and 19, and 12. Okay, so looking at the historical data over here, I want to see if this entry, so this entry at 507 or 508, sorry, I put the wrong date. 508. Oh no, this is right. Okay, 508. What I want to see here is I want to see if this trade hits every Friday or if it's been hitting every Friday, right? So I'm looking at the dates over here. Last Friday was October 3rd. So let's go down here to October 3rd. What happened on last Friday? This trade hit, right? So this gives me a good probability. The thing is the trade has it has a 66.67% probability of it hitting, and then it hit last Friday. So obviously I'm like, okay, it might hit this Friday again, right? It's repeating the history here, like the historical data. So the Friday before that is September 26th. Let's go to September 26th. What happened on September 26th? This trade hit, right? It hit for full TP. Now let's see the next date, September 19th. It hit, right? So what does this tell me? This tells me that every Friday, literally every Friday for the past 3 weeks, or not 3 weeks. Yeah, basically, every Friday for the past 3 weeks, this trade has hit every single time. So what does that tell me? It's like I have the odds in my favor. What's going to happen tomorrow is that it's probably going to hit, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to take this trade because I feel confident with it. Um, the next thing that you might want to look at, this isn't like super necessary, but sometimes you want to kind of check how long does it take for the trade to hit, right? So for example, over here, that last date was September 12th or September 19th. This trade took about 50 minutes to hit. This gives you an idea, okay, this is my hold time, right? So you don't trip out and you don't get freaked out or you don't get nervous when it doesn't hit right away because the data here shows you that it usually takes about 50 minutes or 40 minutes for it to hit. So what you can do is just take this trade, go for a walk, grab some coffee, do whatever you need to do, come back in like 40 minutes and then see if your trade hits instead of watching and being worried if it's going to hit or not, right? So again, right here, this is the 19th. Let's go to the 26th. How long did it take here? This only took 20 minutes for it to hit, right? Sometimes it's going to hit 20 minutes, sometimes it's going to take 40 minutes. And then let's check the most recent date, which was October 3rd. This trade took 40 minutes, right? So it gives you an idea, okay, this trade's going to take 20 to 40 minutes. So what you can do is just take the trade, go take a walk, go do something for 20 minutes or whatever, come back at closer to 6, and then just check if your trade hit. You know, don't touch it, don't mess with it. Unless you're looking to move your criteria or your stop loss or your trade deeper in the profit. So let me show you an example of how that works. So we already went through steps 1 through 5. You chose a time period to look for entries. You chose a risk to reward. You identified entries with a probability of 60% or higher. You went further and then identified entries with a 65% probability or higher. You identify the historical data to see that it hits every Friday. And then now you're identifying the risks. So the main risks here is basically news. So if what you do is check the economic calendar for tomorrow, there's no news at 5 o'clock, right? There's nothing going on here between 5 o'clock. So you're fine with taking that trade at 5 o'clock. Um, and then market opens at 6:30, but from the data over here, it shows that the trade doesn't typically run till 6:30. So you're pretty much in the clear. You're good to take this trade at 5:08, and this is going to be one of my main entries. So now I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put a note, target entry, and then I'm also going to put here wins every recent Friday, right? 3 out of 3. So now I have an idea. I'm like, okay, this trade's really good because it has a 66.67% win ratio. It wins every Friday, and it looks like a good trade. Now let's go back to the most recent trade, or let's just go back to the most recent one that hit. So let's go back to October 7th. And I'm going to show you how you can, okay, so here's the example right here. This is October 7th, right? So like I mentioned over here, your initial target would be 2040, right? So you enter right here, so you can see the long position enters right there. You have your target at 40, you have your stop loss at 20. See, this would be your initial target right here. But the thing is, the data here shows you that it can typically push up to 90 points. So you don't have to exit at 40. What you can do here is you can move your stop loss and profit at 40, and you can move your target up to 90. So see how you can basically your trade goes from a 1 to 2 risk reward to like a 1 to 4 or a 1 to 5. And then you can just trail your stop higher and higher if you like. This, of course, will like bring risk because you're going to be trading up until market open 6:30. But if you want to take that risk, it can work out in your favor. So that's basically the step-by-step process of like what I do, and that's how I create my list of entries here. So like for example, right now we just ran through the whole list of trades between 5 and 6, and then what I do next is once I'm done with this time period, I go over here to the algo again, and I just change the hour. So from 5 to 6, now I'm going from 6 to 7, and I do the same thing. I go back. I put 40/20, I look at the probabilities, and then I pull up the numbers, and I add. Now that I'm done with this list, I know what trades I'm going to take between 5 and 6, and then now I move on to like 6 to 7. So that is exactly how I set up the list, and that's how you guys see this, these listed trades over here under the algo. That's why I have all of these here and I have my notes. So like I said, this is very, very tedious, but this is going to give you the best possible entry to take, right? That's why my win rate's so high. Like you look over here at my calendar, guys. This is crazy, right? I was on a win streak, like a crazy win streak over here from September 29th up until today would have been a win. If I took the other trade today, I would have lost the first one, but I would have won the second one. So this would have been green. But obviously, I'm not going to revenge trade. I just took one trade there. But this is exactly how I got these winning days, right? I did this because I did the work the night before. I do this every night before. So for example, I'll do it right now so that tomorrow I already know when I'm taking the trades. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this trade here. I basically pick two of the top trades. If I have a bunch of lists, like I have a list of trades here, I'm going to pick two of them because that will give me an opportunity. If I lose one, but I win the other one, I'm still in profit, right? Because we're doing a 1 to 2. So I lose one trade, I win the second trade, I recoup the losses from the first one, but then I make profit on top of it. Some days will be good and you'll have two back-to-back wins. In that point, you'll have a 4R, right? 4R, 6R, 8R, whatever. If you like, for example, for this trade, you could go from a 1 to 2 for a 2R, and you can basically shoot for maybe a 6R, 8R. That's how powerful this is because you'll have the probabilities and you'll know that price actually pushes to like 90 points in some instances. So let me check the questions real quick on the Zoom. Let me scroll up. Okay, perfect, Chris. Yeah, I see that. Let me scroll up real quick, make sure I'm missing anything else here. Patricia said, Sean, are you doing this every day or night with the algo? Yes. So every night, I mean, you don't have to do it at night. So for example, if you're trading, if like you're looking for times, like right now, like between 8 and 9, you can do this after 9 o'clock. So once 9 o'clock passes, you can run all these tests for tomorrow for the next day. Like say 9 o'clock hits and you're like, okay, I want to have all my trades ready for the next day, but you want to do it as early as possible. You just do it at like 9 o'clock and then it'll give you all the data. I do it at night because I take a break, of course, and I come back later and I do it like right before bed. But if you want to do it anytime, wherever it starts to turn over, you can do it at that time. So I do it pretty much every day, or every night before I go to bed. Chris answered his question already. Let me go a little lower. Daniel said, looks like you can also just look on the overview chart and just hover over red days to see what day loses. Does it say the actual day here? Let's see. Daniel said, look at the overview chart. Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay. So thanks for the shortcut right there, Daniel. So Daniel said basically, if you want to see if it loses every Friday or if it wins every Friday, you can just hover over the actual trade here and it'll tell you the date. So right here you can see it won. That was a winner. The previous Friday, right here, also a winner. And then the previous Friday before that, also a winner. So you can see it's back to back three wins on a Friday. And the good thing with this entry right here, you can see there's like literally no drawdown. There's going to be losses sometimes, but there's no actual drawdown. Like it loses once and then it picks right back up. Right now it's kind of in drawdown, it looks like. So it looks like it had maybe two losses right here. But the drawdown only lasts for so long, so the odds of Friday winning are very likely. Patricia's question, Sean, entering at the start of it's at the close of the candle. So for example, right here, we have the setting set at 7:08, right? So this means that at the close of this candle. So let's go back to the entry over here. Or let's go to a good one where you can see where it's not all choppy. Okay, so you can see on the chart here too. So right here is the 7:08 candle, and you're entering as this candle closes. So basically, I'm looking at the countdown. If the countdown drops down and wherever it's at, I just hit buy. So for example, right here at 5:08, it was a buy entry because momentum here was bullish. You're not counting the momentum on the actual entry candle, but the one before it. So the most recent momentum was a buy signal. So as soon as this candle came down and it closed, that's where my entry was. And if you click on this right here, if you look at it, the entry happens at the bottom of this candle, right? Because that's when it closes. So that's where the entry would be right there at at the close of the 7:08 candle, but the open of the 7:09. Solange, yeah, sure. I'll add you in a little bit, Solange. Let me see. I think I got your message over here on Discord. Let me answer the last of the questions here. Let's see. Martha is asking, I'm not clear on how you change the times. Do you change minute by minute or you change for the whole hour? Um, Sorry, Martha, I'm a little confused with your question. You're talking about, let me put the steps over here again. You're talking about step one, right? So are you talking about step one right here, Martha? Because the time period that we're looking for is, yeah, that's where I set it to. I set it by the hour because by the hour here, it's going to tell me all of the high probability entries for that specific hour. But then I put the actual time for the report here, right? Because you wouldn't go minute by minute. I mean, if you want to go minute by minute, be my guest, you could do that if you like. But you see. Martha's asking the entry times you change in the settings. So, yeah, what do you mean by that? Because it still doesn't make sense to me what your question is. Because if you're looking for the screener here to identify entries, that's where we put the time right here, right? But if you're looking for the actual report for the actual, entry, you're going to put it by the minute because it's going to give you an actual, like, the exact time here. So if you're talking about step one, then yes, you're going to put the hour down here because you're looking for, and you can see the difference here. It says this is for the screener and this is for the actual report. So if you're looking for price to screen um, between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, that's where you're going to put this here because you want the screener to give you the trades between that time period. But if you're looking for the report, you put the exact time. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to understand your question more because I don't know if you're talking about the actual entry or you're talking about like the screener here, which gives you the list of trades because they're two different things. Okay, yeah, the report. So for the screener here, you're going to put the hour because you're going to have a list of trades here. But if you're looking to see the exact trade, then yes, over here under the actual cutoff, that's where you're going to put the actual time. So you know how we have a list right here? See how the list lines up? Once you have that list there, then you're going to put the times over here to give the actual report. Does that make sense now? Because the screener is going to give you the time, but you want to confirm in the actual report here. Okay, gotcha. Does that answer your question, Martha, or do you still need help with it? Because yeah, those are going to be two different. For the screener, you're going to put by hour. I mean, you don't have to put it by hour. I just put it by hour because if you don't put it by hour, you're not going to get all the good trades, right? These are probably not going to like if you're in a rush, like say for example, you're in a tight spot and you need to get your trades in right away. You can always just put instead of by 1 hour, you can put like 2 hours. So instead of you can just put by 2 hours there. You click OK. The report will get updated, and then it'll show you all the trades between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So instead of 6 to 10, 6 to 8 or 6 to 9, sorry, I'm getting all my times wrong. So between 6 to 7, if you're really tight on time, you can put like a 4 hour period right here, and it'll give you the top trades for however long that is. But for me, I like to go hour by hour because I want to see like what's like the best positions during those time periods. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no problem, Martha. If you have any other questions, just feel free to hop in. I know this is a lot of information to take in. Um, the thing is, you're gonna understand how to use this stuff more when you actually use it. So here's the thing, like the thing is you want to get the best possible entries between your time period. So for example, Martha, I know you work and you have your other job and stuff like that. So, say for example, you can only trade pre-market. If you can only trade pre-market, then you can look for trades within that time period. Or if you want to trade in the afternoon, you can look for trades in the afternoon. For me, I trade between 5 and 9 basically. So I like to look for trades between this window. See, David said when you're fine tuning in step three, how far back forward do you typically go? I only base it off the sample. David, in the reports. Yeah, so I base it off the sample. So see right here, the sample is 19 trades. I only base it off the sample here. If you want to go deeper, like you mentioned, if you want to fine tune more, like for example, say you have this entry right here, but you're kind of curious. Like say you're curious that you're wondering, this has been hitting for the past 2 weeks, but you're curious, okay, does this hit like even deeper? Like does this hit, um, within a 30-day period? Or a 90-day period. You can do that, but I personally don't do it because I don't really care what happened like way back in the past. I care what's happening right now. So I never usually do that. The only time I do that is if someone asks me to do it for them. So like you can go to 30 days, 90 days. But again, like, the market changes pretty much by the month. So it's not going to be super, super necessary. Yeah, no problem, Martha. All right, so let me go to the Discord real quick. I'm going to update access for people who don't have access right now. Let me get you Talanji. You're good. All right, Solange, so you now have access. You're good. You can pull it up under your invite-only scripts. Let me see who else messaged me here. We got Brett over here. All right, Brett, I got your access too. And let me see who else am I missing. Okay, I think we're good. But all right, guys, if there's any other questions, feel free to hop into the chat. I think we covered for the most part everything that you really need to pull your data. If you want to go deeper, we can probably look at another asset. I don't know what the TP stop losses are for other assets, but I guess we can just kind of play around with it. So one of the big ones that you guys like to trade is NQ, right? So NQ is like a favorite for everyone. I don't trade NQ, so I can't give you the exact numbers and stuff to use, but let's see if I can maybe pull something out right here. Um, but again, if you guys want access to this, just make sure you guys get the indicators by today. Because if you guys don't get the indicators by today, you're going to be locked out basically. You're not going to be able to get access to it, even if you have the indicators in the future. So just make sure if you guys want access to it, hop in. If you guys want to trade something like NQ right here, again, I don't know what the best TP stop loss is for this, so let me just kind of play around with it. We'll do from 7 up until 10. I'm just gonna see what the win ratio is looking like for these. This is if you guys want to trade NQ. Let's see. So David is asking, I mean, as in when you're going minute by minute, minute to minute for the percentages. Let's see. Sorry, David, I'm kind of confused with your question. So you're asking basically, I'm trying to understand what you mean by that. You mind rephrasing the question, David, so I can kind of understand? Because I'm just a little confused. Because earlier you were talking about like the days, and then now you're talking about the minutes and percentages. So I'm trying to see. Because the thing is the the minute by minute's not really going to change very much because you're doing whatever is the data at the time, right? So unless your question's different, I mean, maybe I'm just reading your question wrong. If there's any other way that you can ask it that would maybe make more sense to me, I can answer it for you. Ben's asking any specific settings in the properties? Not really. The default settings are fine. If you go to properties right here, this is going to be based on your account, Ben. So like, say for example, you're on a 50K account, right? You're on a 50K account and you're doing, I don't know, 5 contracts. Then you can change it to 5 contracts. And what's going to update here is it's going to be the percentages. So your profit's going to update a little bit, and then your percentages are going to update a little bit. So it's updating the report right now. So currently it's at 56,000 if you're using a 10 contract. But if you're using a 5 contract, see it drops down a little bit. You'll make 28,000 and the percentages here kind of change a little bit. But yeah, David, if there's any other way you can I guess rephrase your question because I'm just a little confused about what you mean by that. About I'm gonna read your question again. So when you're fine tuning in step 3, how far forward do you typically go? Let me pull up my list again over here. Okay, step 3. Okay, so for step 3, you're identifying entries with a 60% probability, right? So I have a list over here, and these are all the trades with above a 60% probability. So this is basically the list of the trades. Because you're asking like how far do we go back? I'm not sure what how like because you would go back based on the sample list over here. So if you're doing 19, if the sample is 19 here, you're gonna base it off whatever is provided to you. If you want to go farther back, you can, but for this list here, I'm not going any farther or any shorter. I'm just doing whatever is based off the previous 2 weeks. Let me read the second part of your question. So now your second part was, I meant as in you're going minute by minute. Well, I didn't go minute by minute. I pulled whatever was on the list here, David. Let's see. Okay, so David said once we get the general time for the instance, The next step is to drop down into the tester and fine tune. No, see, so I didn't do any fine tuning here. These are from the list. Like, so this is from different risk to reward. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't do any fine tuning here. What I did is I just went down every risk to reward and I put everything that aligned with it. Like, I didn't fine tune it. I put every entry that came up with the percentage, but I didn't like dial down on anything. I went through every single possible entry on the risk to reward here. Does that make sense? Because I didn't do any fine tuning. This is like literally every trade that showed up that had above a 60%. I don't know if like you got confused about that, but I didn't choose it. Like I didn't choose um like I don't choose anything specifically. Like for example, here like the all the 60%, I just put a list of everything that was above 60. And then for step four, I just basically bolded out the ones that were above 65. Let me see. So you said on the confirmation cutoff. Um, I'm trying to understand, bro. Sorry, I really don't understand what you're trying to get here. Because the thing is, I went down. The thing is, I didn't fine tune the days at all. Like the Sorry, maybe you could ask it again. Are you understanding like the process, David? So here, I'll just go down the steps again. So step one, I chose a time period, right? Basically 1 hour. Step two, I chose a parameter here, right? For TP stop loss. Step three, basically whatever was with this parameter that was above 60%, I put it on the list, right? That's step three. So step four, if this was above 65%, then I just bolded it out. So I didn't really change anything. I just took whatever was on the list. I didn't fine tune. I didn't just play with the numbers here. Like these numbers weren't played with. They were on the list here of the highest probability trades. Yeah, were you just confused about? I just want to I want to clear up your confusion because I don't want you to be confused. I was just trying to figure out like where the confusion was because I don't know if you thought I was like specifically like just putting in random numbers here to find what the sweet spot was, but I wasn't like doing that at all. I was just going down the list right here. So like for example, 420, we had the list right there. Let me go over here real quick. So, all right, and let me go back to YM here. I'll redo it real quick so that you can have an idea of like what we were looking at. This trade is, and we'll just use this for an example at 508, right? So we'll do 708 here. Yeah, because well, all I did is I just added a list here and then 4020, and then this is going to be between 7 and 8. Okay, there we go. Now let me add the checklist here again. Okay, here's the algo checklist. We got that. Let's go over here. This is with momentum. Okay, so this is what I did here. So I'm just gonna go over like really quickly what I did here. So basically, we did I put 4020, 708 was on the list, right? It was right here. So 708. I didn't change the numbers. I just went down whatever was right. I didn't change this here manually. I just went down the list of whatever had the higher probability and I chose it there. So that was there. And then next I went over to the next. So that's how I got the first one right. The first one right there was this at 508. Now I didn't see anything else. So now I go to 50 to 25. And then again, this thing's going to update. And then see again right here, it's at 708. That's how I got that number. So again, I pulled it up and then that's how I got this one right here. So I didn't really change the numbers here, I don't fine tune anything. I just pull the data from what it gives me. But I don't make any changes. Like I don't change the time or I don't like try to like I think this is what you meant. I think you thought I was like just changing the numbers here and then fine tuning it to see what like what the probabilities were. Um, but that's not what I was doing. I was just going down here and pulling them from the list. But yeah, David, if there's anything else that you're confused with that, just let me know because I want to make sure this is new to everybody. So I want to make sure that everybody is getting it, and you guys can use these tools to your advantage, and you can because the thing is, you might find other ways to apply this tool that might be better than what I'm doing. And if you guys do find it something that works better or a different asset that's more profitable, of course, I'd like you to share that with me and with the group, and then we can all make money off that too. CJ, so did you message me or you? Oh, I got you. Okay. All right, CJ, updating your access right now. All right, you're good. You can find it under your invite only scripts. Perfect. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So David said yes. Got it. I was confused where those numbers were coming from. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. No, I'm glad because I want to make sure you get it so you're not confused because obviously I want to make this as efficient as possible. Yeah. I'm just pulling it from the list right here. Okay. Perfect. Glad I could help you with that, David. Next question is from Chris. Chris is asking, Sean, the date range is only for the graphs, right? The screener looks like it does a fixed amount of looking back at the last 19 trades. Yes, that is correct, Chris. The problem with this right here is that so I try to set it back further, but the problem is the trading view, it pulls up too much data. So there's a limit. Like you can try to play around with it right here. So Chris, if you want to go back further, like ideally I'd like more trades, but it doesn't let me. So see right here we have minimum trade filter. If I try to put this at 20, right? I click 20 and I update report. This usually has a malfunction because it takes too long and there you go. See the malfunction? Now it shows nothing because it takes too long to pull the data. So at default, it's set at 15, but sometimes you might have to find that little sweet spot. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could do that, but maybe in the future I can try to get the code to work a little better. But like I said, TradingView it's limited to how much data you can pull and how long it takes for the data to compile. If it takes too long, it's just going to give an error. Martha, so Martha said I'm going to test it on gold. Yeah, sure. So I could even show you gold real quick. Gold is actually really good, Martha. Though I saw the win percentages for gold and they're actually really, really high. Um, Here, let's see. The difference with gold is that it's 3 hours. So let's see, six. We'll do we'll do basically 8 o'clock or no, I'll just put this here. So I'll basically do 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. So that's gonna be 11. I forget what the TP stop loss was for gold. Let me check. Yeah, 3 hour difference right here. The ticks were okay, 5-10 points. So the tick difference here is by 10. It's pretty big. But let me see if I could pull up some data over here. Update report. Yeah, I actually like gold a lot, but gold is hard to it's hard to switch between YM and gold. So looking at the numbers over here, you can see like this intro over here at 906, right? So for example, if we wanted to look at 906 here, we can go to 906, which is basically 606 because it's a 3 hour difference. It's on Eastern time, and this is against momentum. So you can do exactly what I did with YM, but you can do it on any asset really. So the report is updating right now. So this is going to change once it's done. You can see it's taking a while to compile the data because it's pulling up so many. Okay, so this has like a 63.16% win ratio, right? So like this just shows you the numbers here. If you were to take this kind of contract size within the previous 19 days, if you took every single trade, you would make about like 42,000. It's a pretty big profit. Like if you just want to trade gold. Um, I talked about the criteria here. The criteria is going to be a little bit different. So for example, if you want to change it a little bit, you can do 8-4 just to find out what's the best number. And these here are going to change as well. Every time you kind of play around with it, you just play with the settings. I don't trade gold, so I don't know what's a typical TP stop loss that's used. But I mean, you're free to play with it. So right here again, we got the same thing, right? Changed it from 5 to 10 now with momentum. And you can kind of play around with it to find out like what are the best numbers here. It's just really up to preference. But all right, guys, if there's any other questions, feel free to hop into the chat. We've been on this group session for about 3 hours. We've been on this for pretty long. We covered a lot of stuff though. So I think we covered everything that was really necessary for you guys to kind of take advantage of the algo and use it. Like I said, you're going to get better at using it over time. You're going to be more efficient. For me to get my whole list of trades here, it usually takes me about an hour, just an hour of focus, and I can get all my trades set up for the next day. But yeah, guys, I think that's about it. If there's any other questions that you guys have, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Like the analogy for this that I always tell people, like the way that this works is kind of similar to counting cards for blackjack. If you guys ever been to a casino or if you guys understand how the casino works, blackjack has the highest probability of winning. If you ever seen, I think the movie's called 21 or something like that, where there's people who go around and they trade off. They basically play these casino games based off probability. That's kind of what you're doing right here when you're trading this algo, because the algo is giving you the probability of the trade hitting, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to put a list together of like the trades with the highest probability, and then obviously you're going to take a trade where it's the highest, right? Like for example, tomorrow I'm probably going to get up early and take this 508 trade because the probability is very, very high. But all right, guys, I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord. If you guys didn't have access to it or you guys need access to it, just message me and then I'll enable it. But for the most part, you should be good. See, Ben said, is there a difference from MYM to YM? So the difference between MYM and YM is that MYM is the micro contract and YM is the mini. So the difference is that price is going to be maybe slightly different a little bit, like very minimal. But you can use tighter contract sizes. So for example, like one contract on YM is going to be $5 per point. If you're trading it on MYM, it's going to be like I think like 50 cents per point. So it's just cheaper. The cheaper asset. That's why it's considered a micro compared to a mini. Does that make sense, Ben? It's basically the same asset, but it's just cheaper to trade. Like if you don't have enough money to trade YM, you would basically go down to MYM. Yeah, no problem, Ben. Let's see. Yeah, no, definitely, Chris. I see your message here with the future enhancement. I definitely think that would be good to just do to have it more, dialed in for a specific period because we only trade during those time periods anyways. Brett is asking if the vid will be available. Yeah, the vid will be available right now, actually. Let me just put it in the Discord. So I will put it right here. Okay. So I'll put it in the algo chat replay for the session today. Okay, there we go. But all right, guys, I think that's it. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to hit me up. I'll be on Discord pretty much all day today. So I'll be running my own tests. I'm going to be running my own list for tomorrow and identifying my entries. Once I'm done with my list, I'll post it up over here in the algo chat. And then from here, you guys can kind of match it up to see if it lines up with mine. But all right, guys, I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will see you guys back here tomorrow morning for the live session. I'll be on early tomorrow because I'm going to take that 507.